Well, that's what we're sinking our teeth into next, the politics of the PDP and its internal crisis. And joining us to discuss this is Kasima Figwa, who is a former spokesperson of the Presidential Campaign Council of the PDP. You're welcome to Sunrise Daily this morning.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Well, I don't know what you've made of what has happened, because we initially saw the resolution of the, it was the PDP Board of Trustees, and it looked like there was peace. Then out of the blues, we saw this court injunction. It was an ex parte order coming out of Rivers State, removing the chairman of the party, even though we saw a counter one coming from Kebbi as well. But before we knew what was happening, the vice chairman, the national vice chairman of the PDP, I think it was a slight tussle, but eventually reason prevailed, and one of them was asked to be in acting position. And nonetheless, it has caused some disquiet within your party, the PDP, and now we're seeing governors move to try and resolve that ahead of all of the politicking that is going on as to if there's going to be a new chairman in the convention which you'll be having soon. What zone will it be zoned to? The presidential ticket, what area is it going to come from? Well, what have you made of all of the background to the crisis preceding the meeting of the governors?
Well, thank you very much. What you call crisis, for me, are not as fundamental as they should be. The point is, you remember that I started, this whole fight, as a lone voice. And my intention was to draw the attention of the stakeholders of the party to what I saw as leadership inertia, so that we can play our role as opposition, an integral part of the democratic process, and give Nigerians the alternative viewpoints. Now, the party in the stakeholders in their own wisdom saw sense in what I was saying, so they took up the challenge from there. And we've gotten to a point that the neck of the party at its 193rd meeting last week set October 30th and 31st for the convention. That is the highest decision-making body of the party as an organ. So, and once that date was set, the processes leading to that convention will have to commence, and which they have also started. So what the governors are doing in the meetings they are holding is to try to chart a roadmap. Don't forget that the NEC is, in terms of decision-making, it is a fundamental body because it comprises virtually persons drawn from all parts of the country. And so when they hold their meeting today, they will be able to ratify decisions that have been taken at the National Working Committee level and all that under the acting chairmanship of Elder Akinwumi, so that we can, for once, put this issue to rest, use a legitimate process to oust, the former chairman now, if my reading is right, so that the party can come out stronger, from the ashes of all these internal squabbles.
So, well, you've already traced your own mini history as well, and you're looking forward. Do you think that something has come out of the agitations which you started? Was this the sort of energy which you wanted to bring up? Because some people say that this has the potential to leave your party divided.
No, it has no potential to divide the party. The party will come out stronger. You see, one individual cannot be stronger than the party, or a few individuals. That's why it's called a party. A party is a fundamental platform that people use as vehicle to seek for public office. And in the case of PDP, they were in power, national power, for 16 good years. And now that they are in opposition, they should be seen to be playing that opposition role very, very well, so that they will give alternative voice to Nigerians. And what I have seen so far, I'm satisfied with the understanding that is prevailing, because both those who were for pro and anti the former leadership now saw reasons for us to put up a viral opposition. That's what we need at this time. If you have a ruling party that is not living up to expectation, that is, showing some leadership weaknesses, that is showing some level of governmental incompetencies, the opposition should ordinarily cash in on all those loopholes and make sense of the situation so that they can also gather enough momentum that will propel it to seek for public office with respect to the different aspirants or candidates that want to use the platform to test their popularity at the elections. But when you have a leadership that is taciturn, withdrawn, and you are also not doing well, it means a balance of incompetency. So we don't want that kind of scenario. We want a scenario where the Nigerian populace, that the electorate will see hope in PDP against the hopelessness that the APC presently represents. So that in the final analysis, they will be able, to provide an alternative platform. Because if we resign to fate and say that this is just what we have in the country and we are not seeing any silver lining in the activities of the opposition, then it becomes a totally hopeless
But isn't it
situation.
rather convenient for the PDP to wake up every time it's close to the election year and then say that, oh, we're trying to be a virile opposition, we're trying to, make Nigeria see us as the alternative? I mean, isn't it a little too convenient?
It is not about convenience. It's about the dynamics of politics. You see, the PDP is not just waking up. You see, when you have a
You confirmed yourself that the PDP has been asleep.
No, wait.
And your agitations was to wake the party up, right?
No, I'm coming to that. When I said I started this whole process, it's because at some point I discovered that the leadership was not playing its role well. And what is that role? It's about giving voice to the voiceless, creating platforms where people can engage, converse, and also throw up national discourse.
I guess we're saying the same thing, but using
yes,
different words.
Yes, what I'm saying is that there's nothing like convenience in terms of what we are doing because elections are by the corner. No. This leadership came on stream 2017. There were no elections then. But having come 2017, having played a role in 2019, with the outcome and all of that, we're supposed to cash in on all the loopholes that are so evident in the ruling party, the weaknesses, the lack of initiative, creativity, and what have you, to be able to make meaning out of all this. But it's been a disturbing scenario for me as a person to see that as opposition, we're not pushing and we're not hitting hard. Don't forget that I'm coming from a APC background. In 2015, I was part and parcel of the whole process that threw up the leadership. And we knew the kind of opposition we gave to the PDP as a ruling party then to be able to come on stream. And having come on stream under APC as APC, I saw that the details of what we captured in our manifesto was not being implemented and all that. And I took an exit in 2017. So for me,
it took you 2 years to take an exit.
Yes.
In this instance, it's taken how many years for you to, make the move to wake your party up?
Just about 5-6 months ago, I started all of this.
That's what I'm saying.
Yes, but the party is waking up now. It's waking up. And you see the governors meeting, you see the board of trustees members meeting, you see the national working committee meeting and structuring our things. So by today, the neck of the party will take decisions that will be far-reaching, for the party to move ahead.
Well, let's quickly flip to Lagos now, where we have another perspective. Chimberlin.
All right, just before that, I just got a question for Mr.
Oh,
Febua.
yes, thanks, James. I just wanted to clear something you said earlier, Mr. Febua. So you referenced the ousting of Mr. Secondus. So I wanted to be sure, are you saying that the party is unanimous on the removal of Prince Uche Secondus? Are you saying the party has said, well, yes, we're no more working with him as a party, and then we're moving on to the next?
I think your question is has been answered by the concatenations of all the various decisions that have been taken in the last 2-3 weeks. Don't forget that there was a court in an ex parte order, which ousted him, and in the process, an acting chairman came on stream, who was the deputy chairman from the south, Akiwami, and he has presided over meetings where legitimate decisions were taken, and to that extent, he will be presiding over today's NEC again. He presided over the last NEC and all of that. So once decisions are taken, it means that we are moving forward. No, but we are not going to be detained by the issue of Prince Uche Secondus, because give or take, The party has an overriding interest to be able to sustain its own relevance within the polity and also to play its role as a virile opposition. And if that's the short term in the narrative or in the trajectory of the party, and the party has not decided to do away with the short term, it's cheery news to some of us, because it's expected that we'll wake up stronger with a new leadership in October to be able to, play a stronger role as opposition party in the country.
Let's bring in Honorable Tijani Yusuf, who is a member of the PDP as well, and as well as a member of the House of Representatives. Good morning, and thank you for joining us on the program today. Now, with all of this politicking going on ahead of the convention that is coming up, but what about the challenge of those who may be aggrieved, who feel hard done by? Wouldn't that be disadvantage or disadvantageous to your party in the long run?
Good morning, Chamberlain. Those who feel disenchanted, I think that is why the PDP is unique. If you observe that since the crisis started, there has been slow, steady progression. Each organs of the party are moving so that everybody is carried along. As of today, every group, cleavages in the party, has agreed that convention should hold October. So by implication, in spite of the differences of what have you, to come to an agreement on time of convention. So I believe that in as much as you cannot have a political grouping, a gathering, a movement without cleavages and interest. However, the moment you are able to kind of bring together reasonable majority, others within the system struggle to get what they feel is rightly due to them. So I do not feel it will affect the party. If you compare us to the ruling party, you should give us a pass back. I mean, look at the way this guy started. Look at where we are now, and look at when they started there. Look at where they are now. So you should understand that we are far, 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 far more organized as a party, more in tune with political dynamics and democratic tendencies to present an alternative that is far, far better than what we have now in Nigeria.
All right, just give us a moment. We'll continue this conversation when we return. Don't go away. Welcome back, Honorable Yusuf. What do you think will become of those court cases that members of your party instituted?
I don't think there's much to be scared of. A court in Rivers made a pronouncement, one in Yobe made a pronouncement, and that it is about the national chairman. And I am very, very, very sure that those are part of what was discussed at the governor's meeting several times, even yesterday. So I'm very sure that there won't be anything other than what you have heard or seen before now. At the next meeting today, I'm very sure that we'll come out with resolution that will put to rest any of those things. Nobody, even the national chairman, is not in any way challenging or contesting or anything against the October 30, 31 convention. So I don't see those court cases. It's about those who are for and against the national chairman. That's what the court cases are for. And
are you telling us on good authority that he's going to, whatever case that he's got in the courts, he's going to withdraw them and toe the party line?
I don't think I can say Mr. Secondus has any court case. Some members went to challenge what came out of Rivers, and that's why I don't believe he has any court issue. I don't believe he's in court.
I noticed you used the term national chairman. Mr. Febua used former national chairman, and he even went on to say that he will be ousted. I asked him if there's unanimity in some sense in his removal, and he said, well, yes, the answer is there for everyone to see. So you referencing him as the national chairman, so you're saying that essentially he still stays?
As at now, we have the deputy national chairman acting. So it's acting. When you see somebody is acting, it's acting a position. There's not a substantive chairman. So there's a chairman. So if somebody is acting, And the moment you have a convention committee in place, the National Working Committee of the party are not as prominent, effective that they should be. The convention committee takes over. And I'm sure that what will come out either today. I'm very sure of that. So by implication, the tenure of the President National Working Committee expires in the next maybe 40, 50 days. So it's they are winding down their time. I do not want to go into the substance of who is substantial or not substantial. For now, we have an acting national chairman. To me, if a governor or a president is not available, the vice act. That's what we have presently.
Well, I think it's quite important to clear that air because, I mean, for you in your party, you perhaps understand, you know, the workings, so you understand the season and how things play out. But for the average Nigerian watching who is not into party politics, I mean, they want to get information as clear as possible because eventually they'll make decisions at the poll, and these, you know, happenings will, of course, influence the kind of decisions they make, which is why it's important to say, okay, well, this is the direction, there's unanimity, this is our national chairman. No, he's former national chairman because there's a national acting national chairman and the rest. So I think it's quite important to clear that air. So we know what to use, what term to use, and who to even refer to in those cases. And that's why I'm trying to clear the air. But just to take a step back, I just want to ask you, maybe stepping back a little bit from all this debate, crisis, controversy, whatever term you want to use, is this normal in the PDP to have this kind of rhetorics back and forth because it's build up to the elections? Is this something you've come to accept as normal?
Every political party, any organization that has human being as a major component and the contestation for position and what have you will always have things like this. Don't forget that political parties is a gathering of different individuals who use that platform to pursue political positions based on the manifesto of the party. So there's nothing new here that does not happen in any other place. Don't forget, look at the Labour Party in UK, the former leader of the Labour Party. After the election, what happened to him, and how he became a former leader of the party. There is that the leader of parliament, the party leader in parliament become leader of the party. It was changed. So I don't see this as a peculiar to PDP. It is natural for a political gathering to have interest coming up at every point in time. What is important is the ability of the leadership of the organization to manage these different interests and bring everybody on board in a manner that will be to the common good of all and the general good of the people. So that's my take on that. It's not.
Let me just.
And don't forget that this is.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. And I'm trying to make you understand that this is not happening a year to election or what have you. Election is 2013. It is happening because there is need to have a change of leadership because you renew your mandate every 4 years. So the tenure of the present NWC ends this year. Ordinarily, if the tenure ends in 2023, you might not have the kind of contestation.
Well, let me ask Mr. Fegua. You know, in politics, I mean, you people always have your interest, as you always say, it's about interest. But is the quest to get the national chairman out, is it a facade to ensure that getting him out and getting the position or where the national chairmanship comes from stays such that you then pave way for perhaps a presidential candidate from the north?
Well, I'm not going to speak, ahead of what the National Executive Committee meeting might decide. But the quest
are you engaged in the fight?
Ease out this present leadership was born out of the fact that, in my own estimation, they weren't pushing harder the way they should do as opposition party. And to that extent, I, raise the alarm ab initio to say, come, if we're actually serious about contesting for power, if we're actually, trying to convince ourselves that we are ready to take up the gauntlet, we need to have a leadership that is punchy, a leadership that understands the dynamics, the issues, and be able to offer, the required voices at every point in time. You see, I was getting bored about reading statements, very long, unwieldy statements all the time. There has to be some kind of citizen action, which the PDP can spearhead. There has to be, a way or a platform, present your platform to Nigerians, coordinate with civil society groups and all of that, and speak to issues that affect the country. But
So
this present leadership wasn't doing that. And so for me, I wanted to see a new leadership that will understand the dynamics of what we presently suffer as a country, insecurity.
all right, let me ask you, let me put it this way
incompetence in
then.
governance,
Let me put it this way.
governance and what have you.
Does it matter to you where the position of the presidential candidates of the PDP is zoned to?
Well, there's a zoning committee which is being put in place.
Yeah, we
will
know
look
all
at
that.
all the
Now, I'm
variables. They
asking,
will
does
come
it
up-
matter
they will
to
come up
you,
with position.
as Mr. Afegwa?
Sorry?
Does it matter to you as Mr.
as me?
Afegwa where the presidential candidate is zoned to?
Well, my view may just be a lone voice, but if you ask me, my honest view will be that the presidential candidate should come from the South for PDP. But if the overriding interest of the party speaks otherwise, that's to them. But in my own estimation as a Nigerian, as a voter, as a member of the party, I'll prefer to have a southern presidential candidate, because after the monstrosity of this present APC-led leadership, after the misgovernance, after the suffering and untold, I would want to have a stronger candidate from the south that can balance the equation of the present nepotistic government.
Okay, so it's okay. Let me bring in Honorable Yusuf on this one. But Honorable Yusuf, at the moment, some of the information circulating out there is for those who are angling to get the nod to become the party chairman. At the time, they said that there was Mr. Secondus and General Oyinlola. So, and who knows that there wasn't any opposition from the Northern Bloc about all of these things. And if that were the case, it then means that probably you just may have a Southern national chairman. And if that happens, then you will have the position of the presidency zoned to the north, which is not what Mr. Afegwa wants to see. What do you think?
In politics, 2 + 2 is not always 4. Every interest group is struggling to make sure they place themselves in an advantageous position. So I know that definitely there will be attempt by groups to say, let's put the national chairman here so as to give us advantage for this. But I'm sure when the zoning committee take what starts its work, we'll begin to see how it is moved. But sincerely, I do not see any way it is written that both cannot come from the same place and after election, you rejig it. But for the sake of having some sense of equity and balance, that is why you have, when chairman is here, president can come from this side or what have you. But I still have a conviction that we can if we were able to put to Nigerians a very good candidate, a candidate that Nigerians can feel that is pulse, that they can have conviction that this is somebody that will really take us out to do job and rearrange and restore some level of confidence in governance. The issue of where chairman comes from might not have much impact. But if we are not able to kind of come up with somebody as presidential candidate that will be seen by Nigerians, convinced by Nigerians that is somebody who understands where we are now and what needs to be done to take us out of where we are, then those dynamics would come to play in this election.
Does that then mean that you don't subscribe to the school of thought that think that the presidency should be zoned to maybe the Middle Belt or the North Central. You don't buy that.
I'm from the Middle Belt, so it is natural that I want my zone to have such a privilege. However, the capacity, the competence, whoever is going to be is very important to me. It's so unfortunate that politics in Nigeria has been reduced to where you are from, your religion, and what have you. The fact that we are here, that does not mean that is the ideal thing. We must deliberately put on the forefront to Nigerians and everybody to understand that the character, the competence of the person that sits on that seat matters a lot. On a more serious note, if you have a president today who is destabilized, who knows his onions and what have you, who will begin to cascade and slow down on where he comes from. It is because of this barrage of incompetence that has been displayed, nepotism that is being thrown to our face, that people are very interested on where a president does come from. So in as much as, yes, it is one of those very, very germane discussion right now, but I think for a nation where we are now, the character, the content of the person matters a lot.
So what I hear is you saying that competency, character is way more important than ethnicity or the region a person comes from, especially for the role of, for the position of presidential candidate for your party. So would you then be suggesting that your party remove the clause that has to do with zoning from its constitution? Because the PDP actually institutionalized what we now come to know as zoning. Are you saying that maybe that shouldn't have been the path to toe for the party?
No, I never said that. Why we call zoning? Zoning is balancing of power. Once the president emerged, you now begin to zone other positions in a manner that there will be a sense of equity, that every segment of the society will feel carried along. Zoning does not mean that you undermine competence, and you cannot start zoning until, like somebody was even talking to me many days ago, that you're talking about speakership. I said, no, until you have presidential candidate, you win election, you cannot complete zoning. You cannot zone what you do not know how. I mean, you can't zone in future until you do the actual election. You cannot do zoning. So zoning is to help you balance the power game. A nation with about 250 ethnic blocks, you must zone to help give a sense of oneness, sense of equity, sense of being carried along to every segment of society. So zoning does not mean that you jettison merit. It just means that after the president is also so place, it's natural. You take the Senate president elsewhere, you take the speaker elsewhere, you take so elsewhere. So every part of the country have a sense of belonging.
Doesn't that then suggest that the PDP governors who met and said that the presidential candidate should come from the South, are you saying that they didn't figure it all out before they made that comment?
They figured very, very well. I told you earlier that it is natural for every block. North Central say we want it. South say we want it. Northwest, not say we want it. It is natural. Nobody serve you power like a dollar card on the table. You must agitate, struggle. Power does not come by wishing. Power comes by you making deliberate effort to seek power. So what the governors did is right, very, very right. It's in right taste. They're doing the right thing because they feel that that is the way to get power to the South. And I agree with them.
Well, I know you're going to say you're optimistic about this if I put in the next question. But we have to thank you very much indeed, Honorable Tajuddin Yusuf, member of the PDP and a member of the House of Reps, for your time today.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. You're welcome.
Mark, over to you.
Thank you, Chamberlain. I know that you seem to be very optimistic and upbeat about the NEC meeting, which is going to hold your party today. However, what fundamental changes do you think Nigerians can look forward to in terms of how the affairs of your party was conducted before now and going forward?
Well, I want to see, a renewed vigor in the way and manner we do party business. I want to see accountability. I want to see openness. I want to see transparency in the management of, the party at all levels. Because when you give equity, when you give justice to people, when you are able to balance all the issues, with fair play, then you are likely going to have more and more people coming to participate in your party.
What is renewed vigor? What would that translate
I want
to
to
for
see.
you?
I want to see a more active PDP after this whole.
Active in what sense? Is it just in terms of criticism? Is
Not
it
just about criticism.
Yes.
Coming up with first alternative viewpoint, telling us policy for policy what you would do different if you have opportunity to preside over the country, coming up with blueprints on how to solve insecurity, how to relaunch the country on the economic superhighway that will assuage the feelings of the people, that will also douse the tension in the country.
Do you think that they should also wade into this VAT controversy? I mean, this is a matter of
Of
government.
course, these are issues of economy. It is very important. The party must make its position known at all times on some of those sensitive issues. And let me quickly take you back on this issue of zoning that Chamberlain asked earlier. You see, within the party, within the PDP, there are people who say that for the 16 years that PDP governed the country, that better part of those years were served by Southerners. President Jonathan 5 years, Obasanjo 8 years, making 13 years. Now, they say if you want to, come to equity, you must come with clean hands. So those persons are saying that because the South have served 13 years out of the 16 years that PDP was in power, that it's only natural for you to cede the presidential candidate to the North, so that if they are able to get elected, then they also serve 8 years to balance the equation, kind of. And so that also seemed to be, gaining traction within the party. Because if you look at it as we speak, only northern aspirants have approached me as an individual that they want to run for presidency. I have not seen a southern aspirant from the PDP that has approached me. That is also like conceding to the,
But your personal preference will be for a southerner to be there.
Yes, that's my personal preference. But if your personal preference is just going to be a lone voice, I won't have any option than to follow what the party decides.
Why do you think southerners seem to be shying away from it, in your opinion, or maybe you just haven't heard them?
No, it's possible. It's also possible that they are buying into that narrative of saying that the South dominated leadership when PDP had sway, and the North should be given opportunity to measure up. That some people see that as a fair play, and it's okay if that comes. What matters, just like Tijani Yusuf said, is ability, competence, and and the content of the individual who will be coming on board.
Are those some of the outcomes you're expecting today from NEC?
Well, the meeting today, I didn't see it, but from what the governor spoke, I'm seeing a meeting that will talk about the convention of 30th and 31st. I'm seeing a NEC meeting that will take decisions on issue of zoning, or perhaps set up a committee that will superintend that. Don't forget that Senator David Mark is chairing one committee that has to do with reconciling all the interests that are presently at war, so to speak. So he might be giving reports to the NEC. If he has succeeded in achieving results, he will be given. But if he needed more time, he will also be considered. And also the party will also come up with persons who will manage the convention. There has to be a committee that will manage the convention. They will set up several subcommittees and what have you, and people then with members of the party, so that the preparation for the October 30 and 31 can take off in earnest.
So those are the expectations we have today, or you have today, of the next meeting which you hold in your party. Well, we'll definitely keep tabs on it for you, but we have to thank you for coming on Sunrise Today this morning. Kasima Febua is a former spokesperson of the Presidential Campaign Council of the PDP. Well, we'll take a break at this point and we'll be back shortly to take your mails. Please stay with us.